Imagine you're on like a camping trip, celebrating high school graduation with your best friends.
Right.
Surrounded by nature,
Yep.
crisp air, feeling carefree. But then something unsettling happens.
Okay.
You keep counting 6 people when there should only be 5.
Whoa.
How would you explain that?
That's the kind of scenario that can really send chills down your spine.
Right.
It really plays on like our deep-seated fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
That feeling that something is out of place.
Yeah.
Something we can't quite grasp.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're exploring today.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive into a Reddit post from Nosleep
Okay.
called "There's Only 5 of Us on This Camping Trip. We Keep Counting 6."
Oh, wow.
It's a chilling story about a group of friends who encounter this mysterious presence while camping.
I see.
And it really makes you wonder what you would do in a similar situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever felt like you were being watched, even when you were alone?
Definitely, especially when you're out in the woods.
Yeah.
Isolation and vulnerability are really key elements in horror.
Right.
And a camping trip in the deep woods
Oh, yeah.
certainly amplifies that.
Definitely. So let's set the scene for you.
Okay.
We have 5 friends. Dave, Eric, Ava, Sally, and Jenny, our narrator.
Got it.
They're heading into the woods to celebrate their high school graduation.
Okay.
But even before they set up camp,
Ah.
they witness these strange red flashes in the sky. It's like the story's hinting at something ominous right from the start.
Yeah, it's like a warning, right?
Yeah, like a warning sign. And things get even weirder when Dave goes off to gather firewood. When he returns, there are already 5 chairs arranged around the campfire,
Oh, wow.
even though he hasn't sat down yet.
That's creepy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, that's the first real clue that something isn't right.
Right.
It plays on our primal fear of not being alone.
Yes.
That feeling that we're being watched, even in a secluded environment.
Especially in a secluded environment.
Right, exactly.
And you're supposed to be alone, like out in the woods.
Yeah, you're supposed to be by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird.
It's super weird.
Yeah.
The group tries to rationalize it, but the doubt lingers.
Yeah, you can't shake that feeling.
Exactly. And then the forest falls silent.
Oh, no.
That sudden absence of sound can be incredibly unsettling.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Don't you think?
Sensory deprivation,
Yeah.
especially the loss of sound, can really heighten our other senses and make us hyper-aware of our surroundings.
Yeah.
It's like our brains are trying to fill in the missing information.
Right.
And that can lead to, misinterpretations and fear.
It's almost like the silence itself becomes a presence, right? A heavy blanket of anticipation.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, things escalate from there.
Oh, no.
They discover that they've gone through a 6-pack of drinks, even though there are only 5 of them. What? The fire's burning brightly, but no one remembers lighting it.
Okay, that's getting weird.
And then Sally, Jenny's cousin, sees someone standing behind Jenny, even though there's no one there.
Oh, that's creepy.
So creepy, so creepy.
So those escalating events start to chip away at their sense of reality. The boundaries between what's real and what's imagined become blurred.
Yeah.
And that's like a classic technique in horror
Yes.
to create that sense of unease and dread.
And what makes it even more terrifying is that it's happening to all of them.
Right.
Not just one person.
Exactly. It's not just one person's imagination.
They're experiencing this together.
Yeah.
So they can't just dismiss it as, one person just kind of like losing it.
It's like a shared delusion almost.
Yeah.
It's really freaky.
It's really freaky.
Yeah.
What makes it even more terrifying is that it's happening to all of them.
Right.
Not just one person.
Exactly. It's not just one person's imagination.
They're experiencing this together.
Yeah.
So they can't just dismiss it as,
No.
one person just kind of like losing it.
It's like a shared delusion almost.
Yeah.
It's really freaky.
It's really freaky.
Yeah.
They decide to sleep in pairs in their tents for safety.
Oh.
But Eric ends up alone.
Oh, no.
And as Jenny tries to fall asleep, she sees a figure standing by the tents,
Whoa.
just watching them.
Oh, that's terrifying.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Just standing there.
Yeah, that image taps into our primal fear of being watched, of being hunted.
Right.
The darkness of the forest becomes a character itself.
Yes.
Concealing the unknown.
Yeah.
And amplifying their fear.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that darkness limits our visual information.
Exactly.
And our brains are wired to interpret that lack of information as a potential threat.
Right, our imaginations run wild when we can't see clearly.
Yeah.
And the story really plays on that.
Definitely. And then comes a turning point in the story.
Okay.
A moment that shifts everything from unsettling to terrifying.
Oh, no.
Ava screams in the middle of the night, waking everyone up.
Oh, my gosh.
They rush to her tent and discover that Eric is dead.
No.
And the details of his death are pretty gruesome.
Oh, gosh.
It's clear that whatever was watching them is now actively hunting them.
So they're not just being watched anymore.
No.
Now they're being hunted.
Yeah, it's not just like a presence. It's like, it's evil.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Panic sets in, and they flee the campsite in the dead of night,
Oh, wow.
running blindly through the dark forest.
That's terrifying.
The forest, which was once a place of celebration,
Right.
has become a terrifying maze.
Yeah, this is where the story taps into our fear of the unknown
Right.
in its purest form.
Totally.
The characters are running from something they can't see, something they don't understand.
Yeah.
And for the reader, that lack of visual confirmation makes it even more terrifying.
Right.
Our minds are left to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
And often, what we imagine is far more frightening than anything a writer could explicitly describe.
Totally. And then as if things couldn't get any worse,
Uh-oh.
Ava trips and injures her ankle.
Oh, no.
Someone, we don't know who, offers to help her, but instead drags her off into the woods.
Oh, that's a classic horror trope.
It is. Right?
That moment is a masterful use of suspense.
Yes.
We're left wondering who took Ava
Right.
and what their intentions are.
Yes.
The story doesn't give us any answers,
Right.
which only amplifies the sense of dread.
And it's like you said earlier, right, about like
Yeah.
the silence and the darkness
Exactly.
like feeding that.
Yeah, it all plays into it.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
It's so creepy and it's so effective.
Yeah.
Sally tries to go after Ava, but Dave, always the level-headed one, holds her back.
Oh,
But then Sally breaks free and runs after Ava,
Oh.
calling out her name, and then silence.
Oh, that's one of the most chilling elements of the story.
I know, right?
That sudden silence.
Yeah.
It implies a fate worse than death,
Yes.
leaving the reader to imagine the horrors that might have befallen Ava.
It's gut-wrenching.
It is.
And it leaves you hanging on the edge of your seat,
Totally.
wondering what will happen next.
I know, and it's such a good example of how, like, a skilled horror writer can use suggestion and implication to create a more powerful emotional impact than explicit descriptions.
Yeah.
We're left to grapple with the unknown, and that can be far more terrifying than any concrete image.
100%. And that brings us to Dave.
Okay.
He realizes he can't save both of them.
Right.
So he makes the heroic decision to stay behind and fight whatever took Sally,
Oh, wow.
giving Jenny the chance to escape.
That's selfless.
Dave's sacrifice is a powerful moment of human resilience
It is.
in the face of unimaginable terror.
It really is.
It highlights those themes of friendship and loyalty that run throughout the story. Even in the darkest of circumstances,
Absolutely.
he hands Jenny the car keys and tells her to run. And she does,
Oh.
not daring to look back.
Right.
She finally makes it out of the forest and to the car park,
Okay.
where she makes a desperate escape in their car.
This escape scene is filled with tension and urgency.
Oh.
We feel Jenny's desperation as she flies the unknown, the adrenaline pumping through her veins as she races towards safety.
And this is where the story takes a truly unexpected turn.
Okay.
Jenny reaches a rest stop and finally gets cell service.
Right.
She calls 911 trying to explain what happened, but she's not even sure if they believe her.
Right, of course.
And then she mentions something that sends chills down my spine.
Oh, no.
She's about to check on the passenger in her back seat.
Oh, my God, that ending.
Yeah.
It's rough, right?
It's so creepy.
so creepy.
It's like one of those things where you're like, I don't want to know.
I know.
But I have to know.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So good.
And it brings up so many questions.
Yeah, like who or what was in the back seat?
I know.
And how much of what they experienced was real or a product of their fear?
Right, right.
Such a mind bender.
It's such a mind bender. I'm really curious to hear your take on this.
Okay. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the psychological effects of fear in a situation like this?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Could their fear have actually distorted their perception?
That's a great question. And this story really highlights how fear can warp our perception
Right.
and make us see things that might not be there.
Hmm.
When we're under extreme stress, our brains release hormones like adrenaline and cortisol,
Yeah.
which trigger our fight or flight response.
Right.
This can heighten our senses,
Yeah.
but it can also make us more prone to misinterpretations and even hallucinations.
So you're saying they might have been literally seeing things
It's certainly a possibility.
because of their fear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think about it. They're in a dark, unfamiliar environment.
Mm-hmm.
Their senses are on high alert. And they're already primed to believe that something is wrong.
Right, right.
In that state of heightened anxiety, their brains could easily fill in the gaps, creating images and sounds that weren't actually there.
That makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider how their fears seem to feed off of each other.
Right.
It's like their shared anxiety created this cycle of escalating paranoia.
Exactly. The group's shared experience would amplify their individual fears, making it even harder to distinguish between what was real and what was imagined.
Right.
This phenomena is known as collective delusion,
Okay.
where a group of people come to believe in something that isn't true,
Yeah.
often fueled by fear or anxiety.
It's almost like the story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of groupthink,
I like that, yeah.
especially when fear takes over.
It makes you think about how easily fear can spread
Right.
and how it can influence our perception of reality.
And then there's the whole question of the sixth presence itself.
Right.
It's never fully explained, which adds to the mystery and terror.
It does.
I was wondering, are there any parallels to folklore or mythology here?
Oh, that's interesting.
Could this be connected to any creatures or legends that prey on isolation and fear?
There are definitely some fascinating connections to folklore and mythology here.
Okay.
Many cultures have stories about creatures that inhabit the woods, beings that embody the unknown and dangerous.
Right.
For example, in Native American folklore, you have the legend of the skinwalker,
Okay.
a shape-shifting entity that can instill fear and dread.
Wow.
And in European folklore, you have tales of forest spirits and demons that prey on those who wander too far from civilization.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by those kinds of stories.
Yeah, me too.
How they reflect our deepest fears about the natural world.
Exactly. Those stories often serve as warnings about the dangers of venturing into the unknown, about respecting the power of nature, and acknowledging that there are forces beyond our comprehension.
It's like the forest itself becomes a symbol of the unknown.
I agree.
Right.
Totally.
A place where the boundaries between the real and the supernatural can blur.
Yeah, and the way the story never fully reveals the identity of the sixth presence adds to that sense of mystery and dread.
Yeah.
It leaves the reader to fill in the blanks with their own fears and interpretations.
Right.
Which can be even more terrifying than having the creature explicitly described.
It's like the story is tapping into our primal fear of the unknown.
Exactly.
Allowing us to project our own anxieties and fears onto the narrative.
Precisely. And that's one of the things that makes horror so effective.
Right.
It allows us to confront our fears in a safe environment, to explore the dark corners of our minds without actually putting ourselves in danger.
It's like a controlled exposure to fear.
Exactly.
Which can be both thrilling and unsettling at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
And that brings us to the ending, that abrupt cliffhanger that leaves us wondering about Jenny's fate and the identity of the passenger in her back seat.
It's such a good ending.
It's so good.
Like the open ending.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant technique in horror storytelling.
Yeah.
Because it denies the reader the closure and resolution they typically expect.
Right.
It leaves them with a lingering sense of unease, a feeling that the story isn't truly over.
It's almost like the story is inviting us to continue the narrative in our own minds.
I agree.
To imagine what might happen next.
Totally. And that's a powerful thing because it means the story continues to haunt us long after we finish reading it.
Yeah.
I love that about it.
The open ending allows the horror to seep into our own reality.
Exactly.
Blurring the lines between fiction and real life.
Right.
It makes us question what we believe, what we fear, and how we might react in a similar situation.
It's like a thought experiment.
Yes. That's what I find so fascinating about horror.
Me too.
It's not just about entertainment.
It's not just about jump scares.
Yeah. It's about exploring the darker aspects of human nature.
Exactly.
Our fears and our vulnerabilities.
Right.
And this particular story does a brilliant job of using suspense, suggestion, and ambiguity.
It does.
To create a truly chilling and unforgettable reading experience.
Absolutely.
It stays with you long after you've finished it.
Yeah.
Making you question everything you thought you knew about the world.
Right.
And the things that might be lurking just beyond our perception.
It makes you look over your shoulder.
Yes, it does. It really does.
Yeah.
So with that chilling thought in mind,
Yeah.
what does all of this tell us about the power of storytelling?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Especially when it comes to horror.
Yeah. It makes you realize that horror isn't just about monsters and jump scares.
Right, right.
It's about tapping into something primal within us.
Yeah.
Something that resonates with our deepest fears and anxieties.
This story, with its open ending and unsettling ambiguity, really leaves you with a sense of unease. You can't help but wonder what happened to Jenny.
Yeah.
What she saw in that back seat.
It challenges us to confront the unknown.
Right.
To acknowledge that there are things in this world that we may never fully understand.
And it makes you question your own perceptions.
Right.
How would you react in a similar situation?
Yeah.
Could you maintain your sanity when faced with the unexplainable?
It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it?
It really is.
Yes.
It's like, what would you do?
This story forces us to consider our own vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Our own capacity for fear and resilience.
We've talked about the psychological effects of fear, the folklore parallels, the power of the unknown.
Right.
But what I find particularly fascinating is the story's impact on the reader.
Mm-hmm.
It stays with you long after you've finished reading it.
It does. It plants a seed of doubt,
Right?
making you question the boundaries of reality.
You start to see the world through a slightly different lens.
Yeah.
More attuned to the possibility of the uncanny, the unsettling things that might be lurking just beneath the surface of our everyday lives.
It's almost as if the story has given us a glimpse into a hidden world, a world where our deepest fears can manifest.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful, albeit unsettling experience.
So what can we take away from this deep dive into this chilling Reddit tale?
I think this story reminds us that horror, at its core, is a reflection of our own anxieties and fears.
Yeah.
It's a way for us to explore the darker aspects of human nature and the world around us.
It's about facing our fears, even if it's just through the lens of a story. And
Yeah.
perhaps it's about finding a strange comfort in knowing that we're not alone in those fears.
Right, there's a sense of shared experience in horror.
Yes.
We gather around the campfire, so to speak,
Yeah.
and share these tales of terror,
Right.
knowing that others have felt those same chills
Mhm.
or same moments of doubt and dread.
And maybe, just maybe, by confronting those fears, by acknowledging them, we can find a way to navigate the darkness, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
It's a reminder that even in the face of terror, there's still hope, still a spark of human resilience that allows us to endure, to survive, and to keep searching for answers.
Now we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this story?
Yeah.
What do you think happened to Jenny?
Right.
And what would you do if you found yourself counting one too many on your next camping trip?
Ooh, good question.
Head over to our social media and share your theories using the hashtag #DeepDive6thPresence.
And if you're looking for more unsettling stories that will keep you up at night, be sure to check out Nosleep on Reddit.
Yeah.
You'll find a whole community of writers and readers who share a fascination with the dark and the unknown.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and maybe sleep with the lights on.
It really does make you think about the power of storytelling, right?
It does. It really does.
Especially when it comes to horror.
Yeah, like what is it about these stories that just gets under our skin?
I think it's because
They tap into those primal fears, like you said. Yeah. The fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
The fear of the dark.
Fear of being alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they force us to confront those fears
Right.
in a way that's safe, you know?
That's true. It's true.
We can experience the thrill of fear
Yeah.
without actually being in danger.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yes, exactly.
Like you get the adrenaline rush,
Yeah.
but you know you're safe.
You're strapped in.
You're strapped in.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people keep coming back to horror.
I agree.
Right.
It's a way to test our limits.
Yeah.
See how much fear we can handle.
And maybe even to learn something about ourselves in the process.
Yeah, to confront those dark parts of ourselves.
Yeah. To confront those dark parts of ourselves that we usually try to keep hidden.
Exactly.
So if you're brave enough to face your fears, head over to Nosleep and check out. There's only 5 of us on this camping trip. We keep counting 6.
Yeah. And let us know what you think. Yeah, we want to hear your theories. What do you think happened to Jenny?
Right.
Who or what was in that back seat?
What would you do if you were in her shoes?
Share your thoughts on social media using the hashtag #DeepDive6thPresence.
We love hearing from you guys.
We do. And until next time, stay curious.
Keep exploring,
Maybe sleep with the lights on.
just in case.